Well, welcome everyone. So we're back for some more stories and memories, things like that. Just going to start with if there's any family members or grandkids that want to share, they can start and just come up one after the other. And if it takes too long, I'll come up here and give you a kick. So whoever's first, you got to volunteer. Feel like an auctioneer now.
Well, I have it's something from Cindy that I want to read. She requested that I read her memories of Grandpa. She is just in the U.S. right now with her young husband together, and they would really love to be here. So this is from Cindy. Dear Gerhard's Papa, we're excited for you that you're in heaven now, where you've longed to be. Even though it hurts to see you leave, we will miss you terribly. I treasure the mornings I was at your house and you'd pull out your Low German Bible and read from it every breakfast. You were always glad to see us come and sad to see us leave. Thank you for how you loved each of your grandchildren and included their spouses when they got married. I'm glad you could hear that we're having a baby and you were excited. Thank you for the example you left. We will forever treasure the memories and will dearly miss you. Love, Carlin and Cindy. Well, I have a few more recent memories that, not more recent than this, but more recent memories that I thought of when I was thinking of Grandpa. My wife and I moved to this area 3 years ago, roughly, a little over, and we living in this area gave me the opportunity to spend a little bit more time with Grandpa. I treasure that. That was valuable to me, and he had a problem with one of his tractors. His snowblower tractor didn't want to run. The engine ran fine, but the steering column wasn't working. And so I helped him take that apart. And working together side by side with Grandpa was a memory that I will treasure for a long time, for the rest of my life. And as I mentioned earlier, another thing that I think about Grandpa, or think about when I think about Grandpa, is when he came to see me at work, not me necessarily, but then he wasn't shy to mention his faith in Jesus. And that seemed, when I think of Grandpa, that always came out every time. He was a faithful man. And so thank you, Grandpa, for the legacy that you left us.
Well, I've got some good memories of Grandpa as well, especially in the last 10 years, I guess, working in Dynamo. I've really appreciated him coming around so often and just coming by and seeing what's up. But I'll read what I wrote. A special memory I have of Grandpa is that last winter when he was building his lathe, I was able to help him out by welding up the frame for him. His small 110-volt welder that he had kept flipping the breaker in his shop, but we managed to eventually get it done. I'm also grateful that about 2 months ago, him and Aunt Anna came by and checked out our new house while we were working on renovating. I just remember walking through the backyard, heading over to the shed, and I know that he just mentioned that he figured it was a really nice place. He liked that, and so it felt good hearing that from him. We were also privileged last summer to have him come over to our house for Caden's birthday party. Caden and Haley especially, they both really appreciated Grandpa. They always knew him as Big Papa, that was his name. and they always enjoyed it when we could go over to his house. So yeah, we've got some good memories of him.
Okay, I have a few items here. One from our daughter Alana will be the first one. When I think about Grandpa, I think about a man of integrity who loved and laughed freely. I have so many special memories of time spent with him and Grandma, and one of the ones that stands out to me was when he let me interview him for a school project I was working on. I'll always remember how loved I felt by both of them, and am so grateful for the legacy they left behind for us. Love you, Grandpa, Alana. And this other one here is from Lavon, which is another one of our daughters. Dear Grandpa, thank you so much for displaying what it means to live a life of honor, always living with utmost respect toward those around you. You were always a great listener and made us feel so loved and valued in every conversation. I'm so grateful to have had the opportunity to witness your life lived with integrity and always living with a twinkle in your eye. I am so thrilled for you that you finally got to go home. I can't wait to join you one day soon. But in the meantime, I sure will miss you. Love, always. Oops, I think I missed these two up, didn't I? Okay, sorry, those should have been switched around. I see this one as, I said Alana before, didn't I too? Okay, so the first one was Lavon, this one is Alana. Thank you.
I don't have anything written down, but I figured I might as well share something because, well, more recently, Grandpa was making his way through the shop pretty consistently. I was seeing him pretty often, and it was just great to talk with him there and just show him what I was working on, whether it was running a mill or whatever. He figured, yeah, you're doing a pretty good job. I enjoyed the way that he was interested in what everyone was doing, even if that wasn't so much what he was used to doing in the shop. Making sure everyone was doing their job right. You know, he's the big boss walking through, so that was cool to see. Yeah, more recently, I guess I got to spend some time in the coffee room with him, talking during a morning break, and that was just a great memory for me, like getting to just spend whatever that is, the 10, 15 minutes with him talking and laughing and just enjoying, you know, our time together. So I really appreciate Grandpa. He lived a very honest life, one that we can all look up to. And yeah, it's going to suck to see him gone, but at the same time, I'm happy for him. This is what he wanted, to be in heaven. So yeah, thank you.
Hello, everyone. You just saw my wonderful twin brother, Caleb, which Grandpa would often mix up. So there's one thing I have, one good memory there. So I really appreciated him coming through the shop. Yeah, taking time to go to my little corner in the back and see what I was up to and hang out there. And so on company time, which was fun. So, yeah, so I was TIG welding, and he found interest in that and thought it was really good. So that made me feel really good to see, you know, Grandpa thinks I'm doing a good job. That must mean I'm doing a good job. So, so yeah, no, I really appreciated him coming through the shop and you know, making his rounds there and making sure everyone was okay. So yeah.
I didn't have anything written down either, like some people didn't, so I'll just improvise. But yeah, no, I was lucky to call that man my grandpa. It was, I have a lot of good memories from him. I did get to see him the day that he passed as well. So he, it was hard. Sorry. Yeah, it was hard to see, but he stayed strong till the end, and I was able to hold up a little sign outside the window, you know, like telling him that I loved him and that he was gonna be okay. So.
Well, I got a quick memory. I know my time was probably up, but I didn't want to do this before, so I'll do it now if I can get it out of my back pocket. So Grandpa loved playing the harmonica. So growing up, or her grandpa, my dad, growing up, that was some of my earliest memories, was just enjoying his harmonica music. And he was good at it, and as he got older, maybe started having some problems with his lungs and the air capacity just wasn't there anymore, he got quite frustrated that it didn't work anymore. So the last harmonica that I think he bought, and then he got frustrated he couldn't play it anymore, so one day he gave it to me, so I still have it here. And he figured, well, if he couldn't play anymore, maybe I could play it for him. So I want to see if I can play a tune here in honor of Dad, and see if I can, it's not something I play very often, but let's see if it'll work. And the sweet by and by. That's when we want to see him again, in sweet by and by.
So I have a handful of tributes to read from folks that either couldn't be here or preferred to have someone else read for them. Either way. And in no particular order. Teresa, daughter of Danny and Tina, granddaughter of Grandpa. I don't have many memories specifically of Grandpa, but I do remember him bouncing me on his knee when I was a kid, or a child, she says. Grandpa was a man of great wisdom. He was a man of vision also. I liked seeing the different things he designed and built. It's very special to have a chair built by him with his signature on it. In later years, I didn't get to visit Grandpa a lot since we lived a couple hours away, but I felt he always appreciated when we came. Our children were excited to go to his house every time we went. I'm very thankful that we got to visit with him in person only a few weeks ago. We will miss him. Then a tribute from Jeremy, son of George and Verna. Grandpa reminded me of Abraham, such a wise, gracious father of so many children and grandchildren and great-grandchildren. What a strong example he was for each one of us, a group of such vastly different and beautiful people. I think every one of his grandchildren can say without hesitation that he inspired them in some way, if not in many ways. Because of him, I wanted to invent new things and to learn to make things that look professionally finished. He and Grandma treated our Christmas presentations like they were the most precious things. I'm sad to admit I didn't appreciate this at the time, but the impact it had in my life has rewarded me countless times. His presence will be missed, even for those of us who live far away. It was never discouraging to try to make him smile. We knew he loved us. Grandpa, we will miss you so much, but we're so glad that you can be with Jesus now. May your joyful reunion with everyone there last centuries and longer. And a tribute from Kurt, also a son to George and Verna. In quotes, if you don't have time to do it right, when will you have time to do it over? I have always loved this motto that Grandpa taught us. I remind myself of it often, in my work and in my home life. Grandpa lived out this motto. He lived his life well. He was a very good example of someone living a consistent, faithful life. I saw in Grandpa so much wisdom on how to enjoy life and keep his priorities in the right place. He taught us all a lot of things, mostly in the way he lived. With a twinkle in his eye and a quiet confidence, he was our steady rock. He leaves behind a tremendous legacy. Many children, grandchildren, and great-grandchildren. He showed us, by example, how to love well, the value of family, the joy of creativity, and how to leave a lasting impact on those around you. His faithfulness to God and his calling has left a large community of people blessed and thriving. It was always a highlight for us to bring our children over to visit Grandma and Grandpa. Seeing the joy in their eyes as they enjoyed our children was always so life-giving. I will always treasure the memories I have of Grandpa. I love you, Grandpa. Until we meet again, Curtis. And from Waldo, Grandpa, you always meant, rewind. I started both of the other tributes with who the family relation was. So Waldo is the son of Peter and Florence. Thank you. Now let's get back in. Grandpa, you always meant a lot to me. You were a man I could proudly look up to. You always took great interest in me and my life. From as early as I can remember, I always enjoyed coming to your house. You would always be there with a friendly hello and a smile unique to you. Wherever Grandpa was, you could count on having interesting stories and usually end up with a Wiebe trademark, which is lots of laughter. I will greatly treasure the memories I have of working with you in your woodshop. You believed in quality, which is obvious by what you built. You would proudly show me your latest project with great pride. On a few occasions when I came to work on a project of my own, you were excited to have me and get to work with me. You would carefully show me how to use each tool. Your face would light up with the biggest smile when you would see the results of the completed project. Even though my skills didn't ever get close to comparing with yours and never will, I knew I could feel proud about what I'd made when you had given your smile of approval. I will especially treasure the last time I got to work with you this summer when I did a project for my classroom. You always took a special interest in my life. When I told you of my plans to go to Greece last summer for a few months of mission work, and also later when I came back, you were eager to hear everything about it. Also, when, starting teaching, you always enjoyed my stories, and I will miss not telling you about my day. You would always say I needed to take food at the table first because I had worked harder. Grandpa, you will be greatly missed, but I'm glad you finally get to be where you long to go. Though I don't deserve it, I am proud and honored to have the best, honest, and sincere grandpa. You left behind a legacy which I want to follow and pass on, waiting to catch up with you on the streets of gold, your grandson Waldo. And since I'm here, I'll take the liberty to speak a few words for myself. A lot of folks have mentioned the legacy and the example, and I couldn't agree more, so I don't think there's much I can add. I think what sits the deepest for me is that he just did things because of his conviction. And you did the right thing because it was the right thing to do, not because you had a clue what reward you would receive for it or how things would turn out. Having said that, and hearing some of the folks talk about the things he went through in life, I think helped me understand today a bit more one of my earliest memories of Grandpa, which was probably to many modern psychiatrists, traumatic experience. I was 5 years old, let's say, because I don't remember exactly. I was noodling around in his office or Dad's office at Dymo on a Saturday morning, and I had fixed the stapler, which more or less meant I had pulled it apart and checked if there was staples inside. And then I wanted to put it back together, and to do so, you need a firm base under the stapler to slap it back in place. And as a child of that age, I thought my hand was perfect, so I slid it in under the stapler and slapped it and stapled two of my fingers together. As I was trying to figure out what to do with this, Dad and I walked through the shop, and Grandpa was working on a workbench somewhere, and he looked at it, and he literally burst out laughing. And I couldn't believe he was that hard-hearted. But I now understand how much worse he's had to deal with in life, and I think it set me up to say, you know what, you can laugh at things that just pinch for a bit. So anyways, thank you.
There's many more of us. Grandpa had a lot of grandkids, so you may be here for a while. But I have, first of all, some memories that I have of Grandpa. Dear Grandpa, it makes me smile to think of your fun-loving personality experiencing all the joys of heaven. I'm sure you're laughing, teasing Grandma nonstop, and just taking in all the life around you. Ever since I was born, you have been a safe place to come to. I always knew you were praying for me and would do anything to protect my reputation. I remember a few years ago when I came home from tour for a week to attend a wedding. I got stuck in a huge snowbank just east of your place. Almost before the wheels came to a stop, I jumped out of the car and fought the wind to walk to your house. I didn't even get to explain what happened. You jumped in your vehicle and said, "Come with me, I'll help you." I was worried that you would overexert yourself, but I could tell you were so pleased to be my hero. I could always count on you. About 2 weeks ago, you came into my office and made sure I was working. That was one of his favorite things to do, just make sure you were doing your job. You were excited to read the German book that I had found for you at the store. I'll miss hearing you tell the stories of the latest thing you read. You never stopped learning. Grandpa, you have left an example of the highest integrity and most unconditional love. In all the world, I have never met someone who deserved more respect than you. See you soon. And then I have one here from Steph. I guess I should say I'm Jake and Margie's daughter, and two of my sisters are in Pennsylvania, and they each sent a tribute. So Steph says, so many things come to my mind when I hear the word grandpa. I think of selfless love, inviting arms, encouraging words, and a long, soft chuckle. I think of wood shops and grilled sausage burgers and teasing grandma. I remember one time when we were at your house for dinner, and Grandma, with a smirk, put some salad on your plate, and you responded with a laugh and said, "Wat zo dit? Ek hoor min grains," as you motioned toward the green jello. Saying goodbye to you now is hard, and our hearts ache. However, I can just imagine what a reunion that must have been with Grandma, and I imagine you two waltzing with the angels in perfect bodies that are no longer ridden with pain. I remember you telling me that the best part of going on a trip is coming home, and what a glorious homecoming your entrance into heaven must have been. You're finally truly home and united with Jesus. Oh, Grandpa, one day soon we'll join you. I love you. And then one from Tanya. Let's see if I can get it here. She says, Grandpa, I am so deeply grateful for the role you have played in my life. You were someone I looked up to and admired in so many ways, and I have never once heard you speak negatively of someone else. Considering you have 112 descendants, you were impeccable when it came to making each and every one feel so very loved by you. You have spent endless hours in that woodshop of yours, creating and inventing things that I will always treasure, and thank you for teaching me how to use a circular saw, planking machine, and table saw. It absolutely made my day when you said I was very good with a hammer. You were a man of honest word and deed, and went to great lengths in order to honor that conviction. God has blessed you so abundantly, and thus you never shied away from sharing that blessing. I remember different times that I would walk through Dymo Shop with you, and it really felt like I was walking with royalty. All your employees had such a deep respect for you, and I am proud as can be to be called your granddaughter. Grandpa, your little smirk when you tell of one of your enthralling stories, your warm hugs every time I saw you, the sweet way you loved Grandma, the smell of your wood shop with freshly sawed boards, the way you would show up for your grandkids' graduations, weddings, and birthday parties are all just a few of the things I will miss very much. I am thrilled at the thought of what you are experiencing right now, Christ in all his glory, dancing over streets of pure golden splendor, getting to hug Grandma and Angelita and all your friends and family that have gone on before you. I can't wait to join you, Grandpa. See you soon. Your granddaughter, Tanya.
I'm my grandfather's grandchild, so. Anyways, I have a picture that I would like you to see. That's the latest machine my dad invented or built. Before there was something talk about a square hole, drilling a square hole. That's the machine that Dad took out of the scrap bin. Every piece except the motor and the pulley probably. Most of it is garbage and turns out to be a very nice machine. I guess I didn't take a picture of the paddle underneath. You step on the paddle and the drill part, the little square thing in the bottom, comes down into your wood. The drill inside of that square tube is taking the chips out and making square corners in your piece of wood. It's amazing what can be done when you put your thoughts to it and do it right.
my grandpa, we called him Grouse Papa, is gone, and it seemed like it was just a short while ago that we had no idea this would happen so suddenly. Grandpa enjoyed finding things to do in his shop at home, building wooden chairs, building a lathe, etc., etc. He liked to keep busy with his projects. I'll miss seeing Grandpa coming to Drymo for a coffee break and walking through the shop. I also have one from my brother Wes. He says, proud to say he was my grandfather. Easygoing, loved a good laugh, never needed to preach as his actions spoke louder than his words. He was strong, gentle, industrious, moved from Mexico with nothing except his family, built a lasting legacy through hard work, honesty, and faith. He was the real deal.
I didn't either write anything down, but I always enjoyed coming to Grandpa's place. I always enjoyed it when he would greet me in Spanish and I would respond, and then he would go on until I couldn't understand what he was saying anymore, and then my dad would have to, or he would go on and tell me what he had actually said in English or German, and so that was always a good greeting. And also always enjoyed the times when we'd be over as a family, and me and Waldo would go into the living room, and we'd very quickly find a Mennonite post lying there, and we'd enjoy looking through it, and then we would either ask Grandpa or my dad what something was saying there, and Grandpa would just be like, well, you will have to learn German, so you can read it yourself. And I miss seeing what he builds and just him showing us what he's done, and it was always very enjoyable to walk into his wood shop and just see what he had all done, and was more enjoyable if he would be there than to show us what certain things were, and be even better once we can meet in heaven.
Any no takers? There you go, Marv.
I believe to be a grandson or something like that as well, is what I believe. That's the way I know it. But can't quite place which family. But nonetheless, I was listening to the twinsies talking about how it's nice to see him come, well, every one of you pretty much, come and watch, look at what you're doing, improve of what you're doing. But one thing that I realized last time I visited him, I remember sitting there all relaxed on the couch, just chatting, and he made his opinion clear to me. And I remember leaving feeling so honored and respected. We're talking about what our passions were and whatever all, because he was definitely interested in my passions. And we ended up on the subject of drumming, me drumming in church and stuff like that. And he just point blank told me, dat grazelje bullen je deed aan mijn kop, dat treft me gans bezeten. Dat kan ik niet, dat schaf niet, dat schaf niet. But he was clear. But the man respected me, and I left feeling proud of what I'm doing as a drummer. Like, he had no use for that grazelje bullen. But he left allowing me to feel proud of what I do. And I see that in like the whole Wiebe family. You guys have an amazing skill of making, you're probably never met anybody as smart as any of you, probably, is my first guess. But yet you have the skill of making people feel so special and so amazing. I love it. And I do think you got that from your dad, Grandpa. Carry that on.
Well, I have been privileged to be an employee at Dymo for the last good 7 years. And very, very often that I would sit beside Mr. Wiebe and have coffee and we would chat about different things. And just very recently he told a story where in the beginning of the years when they were here and he worked for Mr. Willie Duke, they went to Saskatchewan to a French couple. I understood to buy some air seeder parts, which that guy claimed he had the patent on. So they drove there and spent some time there, visited with the couple, and I guess got the parts and drove home again. On one occasion, Mr. Duick told this French couple, being a Catholic, that the Catholic used to persecute the Anabaptists and killed many of them. And this Catholic couple said, that can't be. They never had heard such a thing. Well, Mr. Duick said, next time I'll come, I'll bring you a book and you can read it. So next time they get there, before they're even inside, this man comes out and tells them, you know what, I talked to my priest and he said that's true. Can't believe it, but apparently that's true. And they go inside and talk about that some more, and he says, we just can't believe that it's true, but apparently it's true. The priest said it's true. But you can build as many air seeders as you want. We won't kill you.
It's 12 years ago that we moved into this community, and I started to work at Dymo, and that didn't take very long. Then I felt that is very, very close to my dad. I could sit and talk to him, and he was interested in from where we came and what we have gone through, and I felt that he was interested in what we were doing, or what we had done and went through. And then later one day they had a picnic. Once a year, I think, was a picnic at time, and it was at school here. And I sat beside him, and we were chatting there. And then all of a sudden he was quiet, and I looked at his face, and he had tears in his eyes. And I didn't ask what happened, but he had tears in his eyes. He was quiet. And then all of a sudden he started to talk and said, what a blessing God gave to this business. And there was about I don't know exactly, but I think around 300 people was there. And he said, they all eat of this business what God has blessed me with. And I was amazed how humble he was. He said, I didn't intend to have a big company, but now I'm blessed to see what God has done, and I will give it to him as much as let him. I don't know with what kind of words he did say it, but that God could keep on blessing the company to bless the community. That was his desire.
I also had the privilege of working at Dymo. Many times he would come through the shop. And those of you that know Dymo, where the VF10 used to standing, I don't know if it's moved by now, but I was running and I was sweeping the floor as he came by, and he told me, "Det var en huge fan konst to norska bra." If you can't sweep the floor, you're not worth anything. He said, "I glad du var snart fått med." In his nice, gentle way. And I often think of that. Now I'm on the other end looking for employees, and I think to myself, if I can't hire somebody to help me sweep the floor, he might not be worth a whole lot. There's just those little things that he planted that I value so greatly. And here in the beginning of September, he stopped in at our shop. He said, "My air conditioning isn't working." Well, we both knew in the shop that probably nothing wrong with his air conditioning. But we had to check, because that's what he said. Checked his air conditioning, there's nothing wrong. I said, "Do you want a coffee?" "Well, yeah, I'll gladly take a coffee." So we sat and had a coffee. In the meantime, I'm thinking, how do I bill this honorable man for doing nothing? I just don't feel right giving him a bill. And I said, when all done, I said, "You know what? You paid me by coffee." He said, "You can't build a business just giving me coffee." He said, "You have to charge me." So I ended up charging him a little bit. But he said, "You can't make a business. I'd want to make sure that you are going to be here later on too. I want you to," and that's how he cared for others. And I was always so blessed by that. And I've learned so much from him. Reach out to others. And through that, you're blessed. So thank you as a family so much for carrying on that legacy. And I agree with Marvin. I don't know if there's ever a smarter group of people, and yet you never make anybody else feel dumb. I can't say it as nice as Marvin did, but that is, I find it so true. So as a family, I just want to bless you with that. Keep on that legacy. Keep on blessing those around you, because you carry a great blessing, a great heritage.
Last call. Jake.
I think it's worth mentioning that my dad never saw you as employees. I hear that word come up and I cringe a little bit because it's not quite right. That's not how Dad saw you. I know that's the terms we use, but he never saw you as employees. He saw you as equals. And I think that's why when I hear someone referring to being employed or as an employee of Dime or something, I cringe a little bit. I got that from him. He was just that kind of man. He was unassuming. He wasn't higher than anybody else. Thank you.
Oh. That's everything. How do we close, Peter? Okay, well, I'll maybe just close in a quick prayer and then we can chat some more or leave. Father God, thank you for just providing the example of our earthly fathers being sort of a foreshadowing of who you are and helping us to grow in our knowledge and faith of you. Thank you so much for my father. Help us all to follow the example he led by following you, and bless everyone here. Bless those who have worked in service to make today possible. and be with us as we go. Amen.